coming together to combat hate.
Regardless of how you differ, violence is never the answer.
Cars set ablaze and a targeted message on a Clayton street.
Only on 4, we'll take you inside a space focusing on healing.
That diversity makes us more resilient.
Violence at a short-term rental that neighbors say could have been avoided.
They should have been came.
Tonight, First Alert 4 investigates calls for help made before shots were fired.
We get here not an hour later. 15 minutes even. None of this would have happened.
A packed public meeting demanding answers about their discolored water.
I just want to hopefully get this resolved.
Live, First Alert 4 starts now.
Things like this happen to us. We pick ourselves up, we brush ourselves off, and we say, we are still going to keep living our Jewish values.
Creating a space to heal through song and community. Nearly a week after a threat was spelled out on a St. Louis County street, local leaders coming together tonight to show solidarity with the Jewish community.
This event follows fire set to cars in Clayton last Tuesday. That morning, the vehicles were burned and charred. And
once the flames were out, the attention shifted to this message near the scene. It reads, "Death to the IDF." The IDF is the Israel Defense Forces, Israel's military.
Now, the FBI and several other law enforcement agencies are investigating that incident as a hate crime.
And police are still trying to identify whoever was behind what they're calling a targeted attack. Only John Kipper was at tonight's event where the community came together to focus on healing. John?
Yeah, we are on Westmoreland in Clayton where the incident happened last week, and there is little evidence that 3 cars started on fire and that message, "Death to the IDF," was spray painted on the streets. And while this shook the Jewish community, today they stood up to the violence.
My heart just dropped.
Molly Seawalk says she has seen anti-Semitic incidents happen in other parts of the country and world, but when it came to Clayton, it hit her differently.
It was scary to have it come to my community. I think it kind of woke up my community a little more, too.
Clayton police say they continue to investigate a hate crime last Tuesday. They believe 3 vehicles were intentionally set on fire, and next to them a message read, "Death to the IDF." The other part of the message we have blurred because it attacked a Clayton resident we don't want to identify.
We are still going to keep living Jewishly out loud.
Monday, members of the St. Louis Jewish community, as well as community members of other faiths, gathered at Kolrina Synagogue, just a few hundred feet from where the cars burned.
This is not how we disagree, and whatever you think about anything going on in the world, setting cars on fire is not the solution.
Rabbi Noah Arnau calls the incident violent and dangerous, saying the community wanted to come together to show strength.
Really makes all of us feel like none of us are alone, like we are all in this together.
And they came together through song, psalms, and speeches.
We will not hide. We will not apologize for who we are.
Waves of solidarity filled the room, which included Clayton Mayor Bridget McAndrew, who, while not Jewish, says her city is strengthened by the many faiths their residents practice.
Diversity makes us more resilient.
And she acknowledges people disagree about the war in Gaza.
Regardless of how you differ, violence is never the answer.
And while many in the room still have anxieties about what happened, Seawalk says coming together Monday served as a sort of therapy.
It's really important to see and talk to other people who are feeling the same feelings as me. And Clayton police are actually on this street right now protecting the area. Clayton police as well as the FBI were at the event tonight. They say their best people are working the case and they hope to identify a suspect soon. Reporting live in Clayton, John Kipper, First Alert 4.
An investigation will certainly continue to follow. John, thank you. Let's turn to the weather as we keep an eye on some storms west of our region tonight. It's been a dry day for St. Louis, but Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton is timing out our rain and storm chances for tomorrow, Steve.
Yeah, the storms you see off to the west, those are going to miss us. They're just going to miss even Pike County, Missouri, and Bowling Green as they kind of slide through Columbia and up into northeastern Missouri. These are going to pass, and there's a slim chance in the morning for an isolated shower, but really the bulk of tomorrow's scattered downpours, it's going to be in the afternoon to early evening when this front, it's rather weak, but when that front approaches and gets closer. So in the morning, most of us mild and muggy. You'll notice the humidity. We go from 74 for our low. By 9 a.m. we're at 82. We'll still be on guard for that slight chance of a spot shower or thunder shower. But here's the first alert on what's next. Scattered storms tomorrow, focused in the afternoon to evening, about a 40% chance. So not a given you get hit, but some downpours are possible. It'll be near 90 the next few days. days, but it gets hotter Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Think about heat for your weekend plans. Heat index pushes into the triple digits. I'll detail that, but also the storms that hit first hour by hour coming up in just a bit.
All right, Steve, we'll see you soon. Thank you. Tonight we are learning more about what led up to a shooting at a short-term rental property earlier this month in South St. Louis. You might remember the video we're about to show you. A neighbor shared with us when shots were fired. Tonight we are hearing from neighbors who say they sounded the alarm long before a girl was shot. Jordan Burrell is sifting through the data and new footage, giving us a clearer view of what happened that night.
It's a failure on the police's part for not showing up.
Several people who live along Minnesota Avenue in South City say they called 911 multiple times on Saturday, August 2nd, as noise and disturbances escalated. Video shows what appears to be juveniles fighting near the short-term rental. Neighbors say they called police during the fight, but for some, their calls went unanswered or police responded way too late.
Now they want to come after the it's over.
This woman lives in a home overlooking the short-term rental where police say a 17-year-old girl was shot. She says she called 911 about the noise at 12:30 a.m. but didn't see police until around 2:15 a.m. after the shooting. On her Ring camera surveillance video from that night, the only sign of emergency services we saw was an ambulance that rolled by at midnight.
They should have been came. They wait for people to kill themselves.
St. Louis Metro Police confirm officers were dispatched twice before shots were fired. Two disturbance calls came in at 11:27 p.m. and 12:05 a.m. Police say they responded to those calls and arrived at 11:51 p.m. and 12:27 a.m. When First Alert 4 requested body cam or dash cam footage, SLMPD spokesperson sent us this statement in response. Our officers answered the two calls for service at the location before the unfortunate act of violence. Being asked to prove it is an insult to the men and women of this department. I encourage you to follow up on the pending litigation regarding short-term rental regulations, which would give our officers more tools to address these issues. So we did. Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer represents the area where the shooting happened. She says a temporary restraining order is stopping the city from enforcing an ordinance regulating short-term rentals.
That would have helped in a lot of these incidences that I think was going to be really, really useful.
The ordinance would make short-term rental operators in St. Louis obtain a permit and pay an annual $150 fee. A property owner filed a lawsuit against the city citing the Hancock Amendment, claiming the $150 fee is a tax, which voters didn't approve, making it unlawful. Amanda Arney just wants to make sure police respond when there's a disturbance.
Because this happens often, where they can get here not an hour later. 15 minutes even. None of this would have happened.
The short-term rental connected to the shooting has since been shut down and taken off all platforms. In addition, SLMPD installed a real-time crime center in front of the house. In studio, Jordan Burrell, First Alert 4.
Alderwoman Ann Schweitzer says there is a possibility the city of St. Louis could ban short-term rentals. She tells First Alert 4 that isn't something the city necessarily wants to do, but they do want to make sure when something like this shooting happens, there is a quick process to shut down the property.
And while St. Louis is looking to place restrictions on short-term rentals, the city of Clayton wants to loosen them. Tomorrow, Clayton City Council will discuss lifting a ban on short-term rentals in the downtown area. If passed, operators would have to obtain and renew permits for each unit. They would also have to provide off-street parking, and parties along with other events would not be allowed in these properties. The Clayton City Council meeting is slated to start tomorrow at 7 p.m. at City Hall. Well, new at 10, a body found near the Chain of Rocks Bridge spurring an investigation tonight. The Madison County Sheriff's Office says this could be connected to a missing persons case. Officials tell us the remains were recovered just before noon today. According to officials, that body was lodged against driftwood between two construction barges separated by a tugboat. We're told this could be connected to a June missing persons case, but they have not revealed the person's identity.
A public meeting tonight packed in a Metro East village for an issue that wasn't even on the agenda, and it's all over the water. Residents believe is anything but clean. This is in Bethalto, where we have told you about several cases of discolored water pouring from taps. Ava Martinez reports on what residents had to say to local leaders about their murky water.
That's right, Corey. Well, the main thing I want to put here today is there was a lot of discussion about the future of the water and about the color of that water. Now, residents really frustrated, saying they're continuing to see brown and discolored water come out of their taps, their shower heads, even in their laundry machines, sometimes having to redo that work. Now, the city on the opposite side, they were focusing on the infrastructure work that they're already doing and they're trying to do to clean up that water. Now, the mayor and the public works director told me directly that the water is safe to drink and that they use it and drink it daily. However, the residents we spoke to do not, and they don't know if that water's safe. In fact, one of the people we spoke to, Jamie, said she's had so much discolored water and she's reached out to the city so many times, she finally got so frustrated she stopped calling.
Their attitude was not in the right place, so I quit calling. At the time, I was only worried about the cleanliness of the clothes. I really wasn't worried about, the drinking or the health concerns, but I am now concerned.
The village hall was packed with well over 35 people by the end of the meeting, and those who spoke in public comment focused their questions on what the village is doing about that problem, both in the short term and the long term. Some even clapped as residents raised concerns specifically about water safety in schools and pressed on whether the water is being tested for every chemical and metal. Now, First Alert 4 learned that local leaders have reached out to Senator Nikki Badinsky and other political representatives about potential funding for water improvements. The village says they have to know what they're dealing with first, but have looked at EPA grants, support from Madison County, and other ways of addressing the water challenges. Now, we were able to get an interview with the Public Works Director who had his own thoughts about the water infrastructure.
The infrastructure, in my opinion, was neglected in the past, and we've been addressing it in the recent past for the last 10 years since I've been here.
Now, we did hear from some locals that those trying to stream it at home had difficulty watching the video online, but what I can tell you is the meeting had a lot of discussion, and we're going to dig into it more tomorrow. We'll have a follow-up story on this, a continuation on our Brown Water Blues series, where we'll talk to the mayor, and we'll also talk to residents, including a student in the Thalto schools here that's concerned about the water situation, what it might be doing to them, their family, and their community. Coming to you live from Bethalto, I'm Avery Martinez for First Alert 4.
All right, Avery, thank you. A moment decades in the making. Tonight, victims of radioactive contamination in Coldwater Creek and various other locations across the metro can now start the process to get compensation from the federal government. Currently, 21 zip codes from St. Louis City, County, and St. Charles County are eligible. Survivors can get either $50,000 or reimbursement for the radiation-linked medical expenses. Family members of deceased victims may be able to get $25,000. For people impacted by Coldwater Creek, they tell us this application is a step in the right direction.
Nothing can put a dollar amount on anyone's life, whether they're here still or if they have passed away. But we'll take it to take care of some things. It feels good that we no longer have those things financially hanging over our head.
Now, we checked and learned those applications are available now by mail, and they can be sent in until December of 2027. We have a full list of the eligible zip codes right now on the First Alert 4 News app.
Let's head back outside with this live look of Maryland Heights from the Ford Skycam Network. Another hot day out there, and now we're keeping an eye on some rain chances. Steve?
Yeah, Ford Skycam Network over Ballpark Village, 1 Cardinal Way, shows dry weather. Got the game in tonight. The game tomorrow evening, though, we're going to have to watch the radar closely. There is a chance for some scattered storms and some downpours, and I'll time it out for you coming up.
Passing a plan working to keep kids safe. Next, the new partnership to better protect students when seconds count.
Coming together to provide love and support to victims of the May tornado. Next, we'll take you inside a special event using the power of prayer to help those recovery efforts when we come back.